Previously on the Frontier Farmer.
We've had a good amount of fun and keeping busy over the winter period. We're heading over to West Creek to now plant our potatoes yet again. And we are doing this job because Richard is not much of a fan of manure spreading. And Chuck has been managing this really well for us, and it has created a good amount of wood. Right, I think Richard is getting set up, so let's observe him planting. Alright, there we go. Richard is done. Thank you, Richard. Great work. But there we go. You can see that the ground is darkening because we are applying a secondary level of fertilizer. I think Richard will take over for West Creek South. In terms of next month, I think Newfield is going to be ready to mow, and we did promise to make some hay from that. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Frontier Farmer at the Dark Forest. It is now April, and as you can see we've taken a little meander over to West Creek this morning, and we were at West Creek busy and bustling along with Richard to get our potatoes planted last month, and as you can see, since then they have germinated quite nicely in both fields, and it is really nice to see this crop season time around. The nice ridges that we have got formed here with the very healthy potato plants now growing in them. Fantastic, and they are fertilised to the full degree, so we don't really need to touch these until harvest time, which is glorious. We do like low maintenance crops. Thanks very much for the cup of tea, Richard. Always good to see you. Right, now that we've checked in on Richard and the potatoes, today we are going to be on to some more grass work. Well, actually, hay work, because Newfield is now ready to mow once again. That's right, here we go. Newfield is nicely grown and ready to harvest. So this grass is all going to be mown, tedded, windrowed, and then forage wagon collected as hay, which is going to help with all the hay needs we have for the future. Hay is pretty vital for making TMR, and it is used by the horses as well. So let's jump in the International Harvester, grab the batwing mowers, and we can get on with mowing that field. Now the orchard is ready to start springing into life again. The only thing it needs is the compost that is in the compost bunker. So at some point, maybe if we get time, we will uncover that and get that compost deposited in, along with some manure potentially as well to keep it well stocked. International Harvester is where we left it, so let's hop in. We are not going to need the front weight, we can get that dropped off. And the batwing mowers is what we are going to be using, as that cuts the grass in a nice open manner, unlike our haybine, which swaths it up. So the front weight we want to lower and drop off, not from a height because it will probably make quite a bit of damage. There we go. And the front and rear batwing mower is here, which we have not used in quite a long time, I think it's fair to say. Probably a fair few years on the homestead since we last used this. since we bought the haybine, to be honest, because the haybine has been very efficient for all our swath mowing needs. But there we go. Right, that is attached. So let's meander our way over to Newfield and we can start some cutting. Okay, so we can get unfolded and we will start with a headland. Let's get turned on and lowered away. Front mower first and then rear mower. Fantastic. So yes, we are mowing nice and open, which is what we want to do. You have to be careful on the corners as these mowers do not cover the full width when you are turning, but nonetheless we will get this cut as best we can. Then it's going to be on to tedding to mix it up and get it to dry into hay. Then it'll be windrowing and then forage wagon collecting. See you soon. Raising up and we can shut the mower down, and last slither has been cut, which is grand. Let's fold up the batwing mower now and take a look at this rather large and widespread mowing that we have done. It is looking quite plentiful, which is nice. I think that's thanks to the manure we spread on it prior to the winter period. And it has grown quite nicely in the springtime. So next job is going to be heading it. Before we do, we'll probably get the mower serviced and washed because it is looking a little bit grubby. I think I failed to wash and service it before we last used it, so it has been sat rather dirty and claggy for a long time. But that is my fault. Hopefully it's not damaged it or ruined it in any way, but here we go. Let's just get the old oil cas out and service it. There we go, bit of oil on that and a bit of oil on that as well, and we'll give it a good wash. I think the oil we've put on it will hopefully stop any rust from forming. There we go, onto the back. Much cleaner, that is good. Still a few patches of paintwork there, but that is testament to the use we have put it through. Right, let's hop back in and we can get this parked up. Now the tedder is in front of the rather colourful windrower we have there, and it is only a small tedder, so I'm thinking that I might head off to the distribution centre and see if they've got anything bigger in stock. Oh, I don't want to be folding down. Oh dear. Let's just drop it off. I was trying to lower it before we dropped it, but lowering it seems to unfold it as per usual. And you might notice that we have rather a large array of equipment still in this shed, which we probably haven't used for a long time. Let's drop off this front mower and take a quick look. So we've got the batwing mowers, and then this was the very first mower we used. This was the Agromet. Yep, I do remember this when we were cutting our very first fields. Field one, which is where the animal farm, or this yard is actually, to be fair. Behind where the yard was is where the first field was. I think it was actually roughly around here where these sheds were, and into the animal farm area. And then field number 2 was probably the far side of the animal farm and to where the bakery is. So yeah, the things have really changed on the homestead over the years. And yeah, we would have used this mower to mow those fields out first of all. This old roller that we used to use to compact the seed bed after we had cultivated. But right, yes, I think we're going to hang on to this windrower, and I think we're definitely actually going to hold on to this tedder. We might donate this to West Creek, but we will head to the distribution centre and go see if they have a bigger tedder to make our lives a little bit easier for Newfield. Right, we have made it. What have you got for us? So a bit wider than our current 3 metre. This is the Vermeer TD190 and is just shy of 6 metres wide, which is about a metre shyer than our batwing mowers. So yeah, I think this is probably going to do the job quite nicely for us. It's one of the biggest ones we can find on the market, so let's buy it for $6,000. Hitched up quite nicely. Not a good colour match for the International Harvester. Probably would have been a good colour match for our Kirovets, but the Kirovets is way too big to be pulling a piece of equipment like this. But let's jet on back and get straight on with the tedding. Spin her down and fold up. Busy work, all of that turning and spinning the grass around to make hay. But look at that, it is a sea of green, turned from a darker green to a milder green, which indicates it has nicely dried into hay. And it has dried quite well considering it's a cloudy day. I think some of the breeze and obviously our tedding has assisted to make it dry out quite nicely. One thing I did notice about this tedder is it seemed to throw the hay out quite wide, much wider than the area we were actually tedding. So I think that is probably one negative point about this tedder, is it has quite a wide throw space, and certainly is in polar opposite to our hay bob, which can pick up a grass swath, ted it, and then drop it back down in a swath again. So yeah, we really have been spoilt by some of the equipment we have used up until now, but I was determined to mow Newfield this time round as a open mow using our batwing mowers and do the hay creation in the traditional way. Right, this tedder is also wheeled and on a axis on the trailer hitch, so it can be a little bit finicky to reverse. You probably saw me slightly jackknife it a couple of times as we were lining up for the rows. But if I take it nice and steady, I'm hoping that we can drop it into the shed nice and safely. Fantastic. Right, the windrower is what we want next, so let me just hitch up the old tedder to the front attachment. There we go, like so. Now, of course, we couldn't ted with the tedder on the front and the windrower on the back because the tedder is only one directional. It would not ted properly if we were driving with the tedder on the front attacher and driving front ways. We would have to reverse if we were to use it on this attachment. Right, let's get the old tedder dropped off, and then we can set about doing the windrowing, which is probably going to be a harder job now that we've got some wider hay areas to get back into a nice controlled swath. There we go, we can drop that off there, and at some point we'll take that over to West Creek as a donated piece of equipment. Back to the field. And I really do wonder who came up with the colour scheme on this Rostelmash windrower. It is rather vibrant, to say the least. But let's get it unfolded. And this is one of those windrowers where it just channels it straight behind you into a nice straight line, so it makes our job nice and easy, but we will have to make sure we spread quite wide to collect up the areas that the tedder decided to spray all the hay onto the verges of the field. Making some good time already, so that is good. Right, we'll get these swaths nicely stacked up, and then we'll be on to grabbing the forage wagon. Lifting up, and the last corner has been turned into a nice row. Now, one thing that fascinates me about these types of windrowers is how they actually work. The tines obviously spin on the wheels, and I don't know if that's just because it's driven by the ground or if there's a mechanism that gets driven by the wheels, but always does interest me seeing it in operation. And I think managed okay with that. It's not the neatest of jobs, but it also is not the messiest of jobs as well. And we've got some nice rows, swaths to come and collect with the forage wagon. Right, I think we'll meander our way along the tree line here to take the windrower back to the shed. And we'll grab the forage wagon, which I think is on the other side of the homestead in the other yard. And then we'll come along and collect up the hay. And the hay is going to go into our hayloft. And then it will be accessible there for all of our needs, whether it be a ingredient in TMR or whether fresh hay for the horses, it will suit us quite nicely. Dropped off, there we go, managed to reverse it in. It is rather difficult reversing all of these small trailed pieces of equipment. Right, the forage wagon is over yonder, so we will go and grab it. Now I'm hoping that the forage wagon is going to pick up the width of the swath that we have nice and easily. It would be rather frustrating if it was slightly off and not very forgiving. Christ, I did park that forage wagon right in the corner there. I might have accidentally shunted it a bit too far over, parking something else, because it is well and truly wedged into the shed. There we go, we have managed to free it. That is good. Right, I think we'll head over this way, and starting on the opposite corner to where I have been starting up until now. But that is fine. So, it's anyone's guess as to how much hay we will have from this field. Probably worth inspecting how much hay we have in the hayloft before we do begin. Oh, we've got 67,690 litres of hay, so anything above that is going to be what we've got from this field. Right, forage wagon on. We'll lower the pickup, which is at the rear, and we'll grab the first headland's worth of hay. And yeah, this is what I meant by the width of the pickup. Want to make sure we are getting all of the swath, but it looks like we are, so that is good news. Right, could be a fair few loads, but let's get this all collected and into the hayloft. And there we go. Last of the scrappy bits collected up. And we can get this last 83% load to the hay loft. And I think it's fair to say that this forage wagon is pretty darn good. Does make the job quite easy, considering its size. It's not the biggest forage wagon in the world, but it does do a pretty good job at collecting, I think, because of the rear pickup. And it's a fair old capacity for the size. That would be the only thing that could be improved about it, is maybe extending the top so it could carry more. But yeah, pretty good. As you can see, this has been a very high traffic area for us dropping off the hay. But whilst that is unloading, we can get out and take a look at how much hay we have got in here now. Cool, we have got 223,158 litres of hay. Jesus. I think from having nearly 70,000 litres of hay in there before we forage wagon collected up Newfield, I think that means we've got around 160,000 litres out of Newfield, which is pretty good going. And that hay is going to last us a long time to come to keep the animals well fed, well, the cows with their TMR and also the horses with their hay. They do love hay. It is one of their favourite feeds alongside oats and sorghum. So that is pretty good. Right, I am going to park up the forage wagon over here. Probably should have given it a wash and a service, but see to that slightly later. And I'm also going to leave the International Harvester here, as we've got one final job to do today, and that is to get the compost in the orchard. So let me just manoeuvre my way through here, past the skidder and into the Volvo. Fire the Volvo up, get the beacon on, and we will hopefully just do some very quick loads of our compost into our orchard to get it up and running. That is the idea. So let's loop on around here. We'll have to get the cover off. Fantastic. Luckily this Volvo is fairly speedy. Now this looks rather small in comparison to some of the loads we are used to shifting around in regards to the silage we made. But here we go. Here is our compost. It's looking rather wet, sodden and clumpy. But we can get it picked up by our fantastic Volvo and dropped off into the orchard. Right, here we go. Let's get the first load in. I think, yeah, we can take 4,000 litres. That's fine. That is good for us. Quick journey over this way into the orchard's little bunker storage bit here, and we can get this dropped off. Slow ourselves down. Oh dear, smashed into the wall there. Luckily it's quite robust. So let's get this dropped off, shall we? It can tip the front portion like this. Compost going in. Back for the second load. And I think I noticed the orchard fire into life. There we go. The trees have regained their leaves, which is fantastic. And I think the actual official drop-off point for the orchard is just here. So we can pivot the tipper, and there we go. Some lovely compost going in there. And this is going to hopefully keep our orchard well stocked for spring through to summer. That would be good. Of course, we've got some manure as well from the French dovecote, which we can use. But I do like to try and reserve that manure for our natural fertilizer for the fields. Right, scooping up the last remnants here. Let's get the bucket angled nicely. Always hard to get it out of these little crevices and corners of the bunker. And that is the bunker emptied. Last 2,000 litres of compost here. I can't remember how much the orchard takes on total, but it's definitely going to be around 20,000 litres, I would imagine. Right, let's get this tipped in here. But here we go. Wow, we can take up to 100,000 litres of compost. We've got 9,000 litres in there. So I think that means that we have got to make a lot more compost to keep this nicely topped up. We can use some of the organic waste that comes out of here, but we can use other things, other fodders like grass, straw, hay and so forth to put in the bunker to make more compost. So I think we'll definitely have to do that. Volvo parked away. Fantastic. And that is pretty much it for today. We've done quite a day's work. It has been our hay days. We enjoy doing the grass work in Newfield. And we are going to be re-drilling that field next time. We've had grass in it for a whole season and then some. So it's time to put another crop in there. I'm thinking sorghum, as we can drill that in May, which is good. But yeah, we got 4 cuts out of Newfield having grass in, which is absolutely fantastic. 2 cuts went into silage, 1 cut went into grass bales for our sheep, which they are working their way through. I've got to say, they are eating really well. And then the last cut of Newfield went into making hay. So we really have benefited from having planted or drilled a field of grass in Newfield a good year or so ago and got 4 cuts out of it, which is fantastic. So next month is going to be about drilling Newfield with a new crop and then moving on to some of the other spring work we have planned. But that is it for today. I hope you have enjoyed watching. If you have, remember to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you've got any tips, tricks or things you'd like me to do, then feel free to leave a comment. But all there's left to say is I hope to see you again next time on the Frontier Farmer, and until then, catch you later. Cheers all, bye bye.